A delightful day to you, Ma'am Rita, and to you, my dear co-teacher. I hope that you are viewing this presentation within the comfort of your homes. My other teammates or group mates had already discussed and give you background knowledge about the history of pharmacology and other important details about this term. This video entails my discussion about the advantages and disadvantages of pharmacology. I hope that at the end of my presentation, I might be able to give you sufficient information towards understanding better about pharmacology. So pharmacology is part of advanced biology. So please allow me to discuss the different pros and cons of this uh, development in biology. So without so much further ado, let's proceed to my discussion. Pharmacogenomics, as we know it, is the study of how an individual's genetic inheritance affects the body's response to drugs. The term comes from the words pharmacology and genomics, and is thus the intersection of pharmaceuticals and genetics. Pharmacodynamics holds the promise that drugs might one day be tailor-made for individuals and adapted to each person's own genetic makeup. Environment, diet, age, lifestyle, and state of health all can influence a person's response to medicines. But understanding an individual's genetic makeup is thought to be the key to creating personalized drugs with greater efficacy and safety. Because we hear from uh, our neighbors na if you take this medicine, you will be healed. Kasi for example, the illness that you are suffering right now might be experienced by that neighbor of yours. And that neighbor of yours took a medicine and his body or her body responds well to that medicine, enabling him to recover from that illness. That neighbor of yours will recommend that medicine to you, believing that it will also respond, uh, believing that your body will also respond in the same way, allowing you or enabling you to recover from the illness. But pharmacogenetics would tell you that each medicine have a certain effect based on our own genetic makeup. It means that our body have different response from that medicine compared to the response of the body of your neighbor. So pharmacogenetics allow us to understand better that each medicine have their own effects, may it be positive or negative, depending on the reaction of our own genetic makeup. Let's continue. The way a person responds to a drug, this includes both positive and negative reactions, is a complex trait that is influenced by many different genes. Without knowing all of the genes involved in drug response, scientists have found it difficult to develop genetic tests that could predict a person's response to a particular drug. So pharmacogenomics eventually can lead to an overall decrease in the cost of healthcare. Because what? Because of decreases in the number of adverse drug reactions, the number of failed drug trials, the time it takes to get a drug approved, the length of time patients are on medication, and the number of medications patients must take to find an effective therapy. And also, last but not the least, the effects of a disease on the body. So, what are the different advantages or benefits of pharmacogenomics? Pharmacogenomics combines traditional pharmaceutical sciences such as biochemistry with annotated knowledge of genes, proteins, and a single nucleotide polymorphisms. So here are the following benefits or advantages of pharmacogenomics. The first one is more powerful medicines. That is one benefit of pharmacogenomics. Pharmaceutical companies will be able to create drugs based on the proteins, enzymes, and RNA molecules associated with genes and diseases. This will facilitate drug discovery and allow drug makers to produce a therapy that is more targeted to specific diseases. This accuracy will not only maximize therapeutic effects, but also decrease damage to nearby healthy cells. So that is one advantage of pharmacogenomics. The next one is this one, better safe drugs for the first time. What does it mean? Better safe drug the first time? Instead of the standard trial and error method of matching patients with the right drugs, doctors will be able to analyze a patient's genetic profile. And when they uh, succeed in analyzing a patient's genetic profile, they can prescribe the best available drug therapy from the beginning. Not only will this take the guesswork out of finding the right drug, it will also speed recovery time and increase safety as the likelihood of adverse reactions is limited. The third one, another benefit or advantage of pharmacogenomics is that more accurate methods of determining appropriate drug dosages. Current methods of basing dosages on weight and age will be replaced with dosages based on a person's genetics. How well the body processes the medicine and the time it takes to metabolize it. We have different metabolisms. This factor alone can be a good supporting factor that each of us responds differently from the medicines that we take. We have different reactions on one the same exact medicine. So pharmacogenomics will help doctors to on what medicine should they prescribe onto us so that we can avoid adverse effects or negative effects of that medicine from our body, because there are some medicines that can cure us from our illnesses but can also result in other illnesses, something like that, or perhaps other parts of our body is being affected by that medicine. So pharmacogenomics allow us to take medicines that cannot be harmful from our body or harmful to our body. Another advantages of pharmacogenomics is advanced screening for diseases. So what does it mean? Knowing one's genetic code will allow a person to make adequate lifestyle and environmental changes at an early age so as to avoid or lessen the severity of genetic disease. Likewise, advanced knowledge of particular disease susceptibility will allow careful monitoring and treatments can be introduced at the most appropriate stage to maximize their therapy. Next, another advantage, better vaccines. So pharmacogenomics can enable our scientists to develop more effective and better vaccines. Vaccines made of genetic material, either DNA or RNA, promise all the benefits of existing vaccines without all the risks. They will activate the immune system but will be unable to cause infections. They will be inexpensive, stable, easy to store, and capable of being engineered to carry several strains of a pathogen at once. Those are just some of the few advantages of pharmacogenomics. Other advantages includes improvements in the drug discovery and approval process. That is one also advantage of pharmacogenomics. Pharmaceutical companies will be able to discover potential therapies more easily using genome targets. The drug approval process should be facilitated as trials are targeted for specific genetic population groups and providing greater degrees of success. The cost and risk of clinical trials will be reduced by targeting only those persons capable of responding to a drug. Decrease in the overall cost of healthcare is another pros of pharmacogenomics. Decrease in the number of adverse drug reactions, the number of failed drug trials, the time it takes to get a drug approved, the length of time patients are on medication, the number of medications patients must take to find an effective therapy, the effects of a disease on the body, and an increase in the range of possible drug targets will promote a net decrease in the cost of healthcare. Those are just some of the pros of pharmacogenomics. If there are advantages or positive benefits of pharmacogenomics, on the other side of the coin, there are also negative benefits of pharmacogenomics, or perhaps barriers, if I may use the term, barriers to pharmacogenomics progress. And what are those barriers? Let's discuss them one by one. Disadvantages. Number one, it is expensive. That is very true. Pharmacogenomics is expensive, particularly if insurance does not cover the cost. Another disadvantage, access to certain tests may be limited in some places. Not every one of us have the financial support or financial stability, right, to have an access to certain tests, or perhaps some hospitals do not have yet these technologies needed for pharmacogenomics. Hmm. So those are limiting factors towards accessing pharmacogenomics. The next, another disadvantage, we have privacy issues remain. That's very true. We have the Privacy Act. Despite federal anti-discrimination laws, these laws prohibit discrimination based on genetic information. That is one barrier of pharmacogenomics. Then the last, the lack of public pharmacogenomics education. That is very true. So those are the different advantages and disadvantages of pharmacogenomics. Let's summarize our discussion for today. Pharmacology is double-edged. It has a positive side and a negative side. Benefits, it can be a harmful benefits or a good benefit. It has pros and cons. Clinical settings do not commonly implement pharmacogenomics. Why? There are several reasons for this. One reason is that there are so many possible gene and drug interactions, and many of them complex due to involving multi-step pathways and several different proteins. These pathways, along with the sheer number of genes in the human genome, make it difficult for researchers to determine which genetic variations in a gene are medically relevant enough to be worth pursuing. There is also a debate of whether the effects of genetic variation on drug therapies are significant compared to other factors, such as lifestyle, environment, and interactions between different drugs. Aside from the scientific challenges, there are other obstacles preventing pharmacogenomics from being more widespread. One, one obstacle is cost, which is also a disadvantage of pharmacogenomics. Despite advances in genetic sequencing technology making genome analysis cheaper and easier, genetic analysis tests can still be quite expensive, and insurance companies are hesitant to cover the cost of these tests due to the lack of data on pharmacogenomics cost effectiveness. Another issue is accessibility, right? I discussed that a while ago. Accessibility. Most clinics do not have a genetic expert on call, requiring them to send patient results out of clinic, adding both time and cost to genetic testing. In addition, many primary care doctors are not fully qualified to explain the full impact of a patient's genetic on disease and treatment. So when patients ask their doctors questions about genetics, the doctors are not able to answer all of their questions. Another issue is that the average person does not know much about pharmacogenomics. I myself alone don't have an in-depth knowledge about pharmacogenomics. How does it work? How does it apply? How does it being applied in the hospitals? How does it benefits my body? I don't have sufficient knowledge about pharmacogenomics. So, which hinders the implementation of pharmacogenomics as studies have linked a lack of education to less support for personalized medicine. So researchers have shown factors such as race, gender, socioeconomic growth, socioeconomic status, and nationality affect how likely a person is to support implementing pharmacogenomics in the clinical setting. So these issues, these advantages of pharmacogenomics are the biggest obstacles preventing pharmacogenomics from seeing greater use in the clinical setting. Pharmacogenomics is uh, the right drug to the right person. To make to make it simple, no? Pharmacogenomics refers to the right drug to the right person. So to conclude, pharmacogenomics has already made great contributions to improve drug therapies by making treatment more targeted and efficient, and it has the potential to improve them even further. However, in order for pharmacogenomics to be truly effective and accessible, it must address and overcome several challenges such as cost, lack of research, regulations, privacy concerns, and lack of education among doctors and the public. Despite the obstacles preventing pharmacodynamics from being more widespread, its potential benefits are worth further research and analysis in the field. Though the challenges are daunting, they are surmountable, and the benefits that pharmacodynamics would bring to a wider group of patients outweighs the cost of implementing and distributing personalized medicine. That ends there my discussion, and I hope that I was able to leave some important details um, for us to better understand pharmacogenomics. Thank you so much. Please take care because you are important. No matter what, never give up. Thank you for listening. Kapag